Holiday tables weren't set by accident. There was a correct order, a right place, and rules that everyone learned young. For many families, the table wasn't just where you ate. It was where you proved you belonged. Do you remember the way your mother's hands moved when she set the holiday table? The way she'd step back, tilt her head just slightly, and adjust a fork that was already perfectly straight? You probably do the same thing now, without even thinking about it. Those holiday tables weren't set by accident. There was a correct order, a right place, and rules we all learned young, watching the women who came before us. The table wasn't just where we ate. It was where we proved we knew how things were done, where we showed we'd been paying attention all those years. Every plate had its reason. Every seat told a story. Every dish arrived at exactly the right moment, and heaven help you if the rolls came out cold or the gravy wasn't smooth. Nobody handed us a rule book. We learned by watching our mothers, our aunts, our grandmothers moving through those kitchens like they were performing a dance they'd practiced their whole lives. And somehow, without meaning to, we learned every step. Close your eyes and you can still hear it, can't you? The clink of china touching china as you carried plates from the hutch. The soft scrape of a chair leg, and your mother's voice, gentle but firm. Not there, scooting closer. The steam rising from the gravy boat. And oh, that smell. Turkey or ham filling every room in the house hours before anyone was allowed to sit down. You knew it was different from a regular Sunday dinner. The house felt different. Your mother's voice was softer, more careful. You'd been warned the night before, maybe even a week before. Tomorrow, we need you on your best behavior. No fidgeting. Don't touch anything until everyone is seated. And you didn't. You sat with your hands in your lap, watching the steam rise, your stomach growling, waiting for permission. The table itself seemed to give orders without anyone saying a word. You just knew. Where did all those rules come from? Most of us never thought to ask. Our mothers learned from their mothers, who'd probably learned from those thick etiquette books they kept on the shelf but never actually read from cover to cover. Emily Post, Amy Vanderbilt. Names that meant, this is how proper people do things. By the time we were growing up in the 50s and 60s, those rules had trickled down into everything. Good housekeeping told our mothers how to set a table. Home economics class taught us in school, with diagrams showing exactly where the fork went, exactly how far from the edge of the table. But mostly, we learned by watching the women around us who seemed to do it all without thinking, who could tell at a glance if something was just slightly off. It wasn't really about being fancy. It was about order. A proper table meant you were respectable, that you had self-control, that everything in your home was as it should be. And Lord knows, in those years after the war, when everyone was trying so hard to build normal, stable lives, showing you could set a proper table meant something. It meant you were doing it right. You knew where you were supposed to sit before anyone told you. Your father at the head of the table. Always. Your mother at the other end, closest to the kitchen because she'd be up and down a dozen times making sure everyone had what they needed. Grandma and Grandpa in the comfortable chairs, the ones without wobbly legs. You and your siblings wherever your mother pointed, and you didn't argue about it. Some families used place cards. Little folded pieces of cardstock with names written in your mother's best handwriting. It seemed formal, maybe even a little fancy, but really it was just a way to avoid arguments before dinner even started. Everyone knew their place. And if you were a child, you learned quickly that your place might be at the card table set up in the corner, with your cousins, a little table with mismatched chairs where the kids sat until you were old enough to graduate to the real table. Nobody explained why it mattered. It just did. Year after year, the same seats, the same arrangement, until it felt as permanent as the house itself. The food was important, but it was more than just food, wasn't it? It was proof. Proof that you knew what you were doing, that you'd learned the lessons, that you could pull it off. Turkey or ham, golden and glistening, taking up half the table. Those molded salads, the gelatin ones with fruit or vegetables suspended inside like something from a magazine. You might have thought they looked strange, but your mother made them because that's what you served at a proper holiday meal. Cranberry sauce, the kind from the can, sliced so you could see the ridges. Nobody thought twice about it. That was the right kind. Rolls, warm in a basket lined with a cloth napkin. Butter soft enough to spread without tearing the bread. And pies. Apple, pumpkin, pecan. Your mother would have been mortified to serve a store-bought pie, even if she'd been up since dawn getting everything ready. Everything came out in order. Salad first, even if nobody really wanted salad. Then the main course. Then dessert, but only after the table was cleared and reset with clean forks and the special dessert plates. It was like a script we'd all memorized. And when it went smoothly, when everything was hot and ready at the same time, when the pie crust was perfect and the gravy wasn't lumpy, you felt it. You'd done it right. You'd proved you could. If you were the one doing the cooking, you know you didn't start that morning. You started days before. Planning, shopping, checking your pantry 3 times to make sure you had everything. And on the day itself, you were up before anyone else, putting that turkey in, checking the oven temperature, setting timers in your head because you were cooking 4 things at once, and they all had to be done at exactly the same moment. The oven wasn't like the ones now. You couldn't just set it and walk away. You had to watch it, checking every 20 minutes, turning the pan, making sure nothing burned or dried out. The stovetop was worse. Pots that needed constant stirring, gravy that would lump if you looked away for even a minute. You learned to time it all perfectly, but it took years. Your mother taught you, not with lessons, but with that look she'd give you when something wasn't quite right. And you learned. When dinner was finally ready, when everyone sat down, you didn't. Not right away. You hovered by the kitchen door, watching to make sure everyone got served, that Uncle Bill got the end piece he liked, that the kids had their milk, that nothing was missing. You'd sit down eventually, but you'd be up again in 5 minutes to refill something, or bring out more rolls, or check on the pie warming in the oven. The magazines said a good hostess made it look effortless. So you did. You smiled and said, "It was nothing," when someone complimented the meal, even though you'd been on your feet for 6 hours and your back ached, and you were so tired you could barely taste your own cooking. Because that's what you did. That's what was expected. And somehow, you'd learned not to complain about it, not even to yourself. The tablecloth mattered just as much as the food. You know the one. White or cream, kept in the linen closet wrapped in tissue paper, only brought out a few times a year. You'd wash it, starch it, iron it until there wasn't a single wrinkle, until it looked like it had never been folded at all. That took time. Real time, standing at the ironing board, making sure every inch was perfect. The napkins matched, of course. Cloth. Never paper. Folded into neat triangles or rectangles, placed just so to the left of each plate. You could fold them in your sleep now. Couldn't you? Your hands just know. And then the china. The good china, pulled down from the highest shelf or from the hutch that stayed locked the rest of the year. Maybe it was your wedding china, the set you picked out when you got engaged, the one you registered for and received piece by piece as wedding gifts. Or maybe it was your mother's china, or your grandmother's, passed down with the understanding that you'd take care of it, that you'd only use it for special occasions, that you'd pass it on someday too. Some of us had to make do with mismatched pieces, a dinner plate from one set, a salad plate from another, but you arranged them carefully so it looked intentional, so it looked like you meant it to be that way. The patterns told you what era it was from. Those delicate florals in the 50s, roses and vines trailing around the edges. By the 60s, things got simpler, cleaner lines, geometric patterns. But whatever pattern you had, you treated it like treasure, because it was. It was part of who you were, part of what you'd built, part of the life you were showing off, just for one day. Things started to change, didn't they? Maybe you noticed it first at someone else's house. A younger cousin or sister-in-law who set up the meal buffet style, letting everyone serve themselves and sit wherever they wanted, even in the living room with plates on their laps. Or those disposable things creeping in, paper plates with holiday designs, plastic cups that meant no dishes to wash afterward. Maybe your own children pushed back, told you they didn't care about place settings and formal seating, said it was old-fashioned. Part of you probably bristled at that. After all those years of doing it the right way, learning it the hard way, it stung a little to be told it didn't matter anymore. But another part of you, maybe a small part you didn't talk about, felt something else. Relief. Permission. The world was changing, and maybe that meant you could change too. So you adapted. Kept some things, let others go. Maybe you still used the good china, but served the meal buffet style. Maybe you kept the cloth napkins, but stopped worrying so much about the seating chart. You found a middle ground between the way your mother did it and the way your children wanted it done. And somehow, that felt right too. But even now, your hands remember, don't they? You straighten napkins without thinking when you walk past a table. You arrange forks automatically, the alignment just so, even though no one else would notice if they were half an inch off. You look at a holiday table and you can feel when something's missing, when it's not quite finished, even if you can't explain exactly what's wrong. It's not that you want to go back to all that formality, all that pressure to get everything perfect. You don't. But those rituals connected you to something. To your mother, standing in her kitchen, teaching you without words. To holidays when life felt more stable, more predictable, even if it was harder in ways your own children will never understand. To moments when everyone was together, in their proper place, everything arranged just so, and for a few hours at least, the world felt right. Your mother's hands moved a certain way when she set the table. And now your hands move the same way. You taught your daughters, whether they wanted to learn or not. And maybe they're teaching their daughters now, or maybe they're not. Maybe those old ways are finally dying out. But they're still in your fingers, in the way you can't help but make things just a little bit nicer, a little bit more special, when the people you love sit down to eat. The holiday table was never just furniture. It was memory, love, pride, and yes, obligation too. It was all those hours of work that no one saw, all that effort to make it look easy. It was your mother and your grandmother and all the women who came before, moving through their kit chimes, doing what had to be done, teaching you to do the same. And it's still there, in you, in the way you set a table even when no one's watching, in the way you can't help but care, even now. Do you remember who taught you? Can you still see her hands, moving so surely, placing each plate, each fork, each napkin, making everything just right? Do you do it the same way she did, or did you let some of it go? What parts did you keep, and why those parts, out of everything you learned?